Hello everyone and welcome back to another Batman miniature game, 3rd edition battle report for the channel. On the table layout you can see before you today Mr. Freeze with some new reinforcements for his team, including his wife, who apparently is evil, will be going up against the Bat family with a little bit of a theme going on for them as well. But without further ado, let's take a look at the specifics for both sides. So here is the 7 model strong Mr. Freeze crew being led by the man himself. Oh, as the dog nudges past me there. And he's been joined by both his wife and also the new reinforcements they were given. But this is Nora Freeze at the back here. She's got a pretty dangerous weapon, and one of her additional henchmen, this lady here who's called the Freeze Engineer, I think. She can actually, well, she can buff anyone, but she seems designed to buff Nora to make her more threatening. And then they also have a heavy now. He's got Tough Guy, so he counts as 2 models for objective cards. He's got a big axe, he looks a lot like a Mad Santa. And yeah, he's thug number 5. We're not that high up for the Freeze minions yet. And then we just have 3 of his basic ones. I think that's 2, 3, 4. And in terms of upgrades, he's got an extra magazine. The one with the fist has a cryo grenade. And the engineer has a med pack. She can heal someone else in the match. Can't heal herself with it though. And the big guy has got a grapple gun, because they had a bit of funding left over, so it could actually splurge a little bit. And the engineer's got a cryo grenade naturally. He's got a special ability that does the equivalent of the cryo grenade, so they should have an easy time freezing stuff, but I guess we'll see. And here is the Bat family, and if it isn't obvious, the theme here is Gotham Knights, the new video game. I've been playing it cooperatively with a friend over on my Twitch channel, putting the VODs over to the gaming YouTube channel as well. If you're curious, just keep in mind both of those are not kept family friendly. But that's the theme here. Also, as we're pointing out, if you make this crew in the app, as you're making it, it applies that team discount the app seems to have. For every 2 miniatures you get a 10 rep discount. But if you go back into the list afterwards, the discount no longer applies, and there's no way of knowing which is correct. So this is 355 rep, assuming that the discount doesn't apply. So it might be an illegal list, but whatever, we're running with the theme. And the upgrades: Nightwing has a magazine. Yes, I am cheating and reading them. Red Hood has reconnaissance and handcuffs, so he'll be deploying outside of deployment. Red Robin has handcuffs as well. Oh, didn't even go over who was in, unless I just assumed everybody knew. Batgirl's not got anything, but this is the most recently, this is an old miniature from 2nd edition, but she got a revamp of her rules quite recently in the app. So she's very interesting now. Couldn't quite fit in the new Batgirl. And then we have the Alfred, who is intel support, and we'll just be helping all the Gotham Knights out. So here we are at deployment, everyone's set up. Nightwing is not on the table though, because he deploys via Shadowed Nightmare. He does have an Audacity marker issued to him also. Gotham Knights are to your right, the Mr. Freeze and Mrs. Freeze crew are to your left. The Gotham Knights will be taking a first activation unless they opt to use one of their 2 passes. And we didn't assign Audacity marker colours during setup. The Freeze crew is black and yellow, Gotham Knights / Bat family are black and red. Red Hood has deployed out of deployment line with undercover from reconnaissance to be right there with Audacity. Batgirl's up here with it. Red Robin is here without it, and then Alfred is over there on the edge with it. And again, Nightwing has it. The Mr. Freeze crew is basically in a line. Mrs. Freeze, the engineer, Mr. Freeze, and the one with the power fist up there all have Audacity for them, although basically everybody is in range for that Inspire from Mr. Freeze himself. There is no cards being played by either side, so we can just jump straight into Battle Round 1 and see what happens. So the Bat family did decide to start the game by using one of their 2 passes, so Mr. Freeze had to take the first activation, activated the gun hands lady, who is Freeze Thug 2. Oh yeah, it's Thugs 1, 2 and 3, not 2, 3 and 4 like I said in setup. Got the number slightly wrong. Either way though, she didn't have Audacity. She simply moved up her 8 inches and then, using the Inspire from her boss, put down a suspect marker. Nightwing choosing not to appear yet. Oh, and it would of course help to remember that there was a card to play on what she did there. You'll notice there's a 3 there now. That's a D3 plus 1, so it turned out to be a 2, so adding on the 1 it became a 3, and that is in relation to a Freeze is coming, being put into play during her turn. When a friendly model places a suspect, roll 1d3 plus 1, place that on it, reduce the value by 1 at the end of each subsequent friendly model's activation, not enemy. If the counters are just to 0, score this card for a massive 3, is to try and force the enemy to reveal your suspect markers. The second and final pass for the turn was used by the Bat family. I'll probably just keep calling them Gotham Knights, but you know, Anyway, so it's back over to Mr. Freeze, which means that ticks down at the end of the activation, but the activation for the Powerfist lady, which is the one who went, started with her putting into play Kingdoms of Ice, and you have to do it at the start of a turn. Play this card at the start of an activation when a model suffers a freeze effect or damage from a weapon with the cold trait. Place 1 blood marker on this card. It scores when there is 5, and you can only ever have 1 in play. So that is also in play now, but what she actually did was move her 8 inches in and round, and then as a special action from having Audacity, chucked a cryo grenade and froze that suspect marker, the friendly one there. And again, for anyone who doesn't know, models with cryo armor, which is everyone on the Mr. Freeze crew, they don't get affected by the ill effects of frozen suspect markers, but for people without the cryo armor roll, they have to use 2 actions to remove them instead of 1. Alfred was up first for the Gotham Knights. Move forward 8 inches. Remember, he's intel support, so he's not really on the board. At the start of his activation, first of all, he put into play Albert Bessalon, the Birds of Prey card. Seen this many times before, and he's going to put a 4 on this for the suspect marker he did put down with his tactical action. And upon him putting that down, this is where stuff gets a little complicated, Nightwing decided to enter, so you place him within 8, and he placed himself right behind this henchwoman right here with the Power Fist. Any henchman rank within 6 get enervating 1, so these two have been enervated. He has Audacity, but then Alfred is absorbing the suspect marker he put down, which doesn't affect anything else, with his special action for Batcave support to give Dick X plus 1, where X is the number of suspect markers because he can do up to 3 he's removed that are friendly, and you can either give attack markers or defense markers. Dick has taken attack markers, 2 attack markers that are marked just in there, because if he's going to get attacked, it's probably going to be shot, which he can just acrobat out of, so he's going a little bit offensive. As to whether or not on his turn he's going to try and remove that frozen suspect marker or just go knock someone out, we'll see. Mr. Freeze himself decided to try and deal with Nightwing. He activated, moved up 8, then for special action used Ice Flash on him. Dick had to do an endurance roll. If he failed it, he would have been frozen for the round, which would have been terrible. He passed it, but that still comes with negatives. He's -1 defense, which puts him at 3, and -2 move until the end of the round as well. And he hasn't activated yet, so that matters too. But Mr. Freeze then decided to shoot him. He was rolling 3 dice in total after moving and firing with his gun. Dick used dodge twice to make it down to 1, so even if that got through, exposure wouldn't mean he took more damage. But Mr. Freeze rolled a 1, so he missed with the 1 shot he was allowed to get through. So all that happened there was -2 movement, -1 defense, and 2 self-inflicted stun. Well, Nightwing activated, and he had some decisions to make, because after the next Freeze turn, a Freeze is coming, is going to score for 3, but he saw an opportunity to at least cancel it out and not leave himself in the open to get shot by absolutely everybody. So he activated, and he used his combo sticks, his Eskrima sticks, I can't quite remember how it's pronounced, on the thug he was in base to base with. He made use of the enervating and his 2 extra attack dice. However, he was losing 1 die because of her cryo armor, and she had a free effort from being within 4 of a frozen suspect marker because of the cryo armor, so essentially he was losing the 2 bonus dice. But he has combo and he has 4 base, so it was still doing a lot of damage. He got 3 hits through for 6 stun, which did knock her out, so then he used his special action to arrest her, get her off the table, and score, get them off the streets for 3, so that's going to cancel out a Freeze is coming for the same number of points. First card scored in the game. And then he ran away. He was -2 movement, but he still had 10, so he just ran around the containers there, still within range to be a threat next turn, especially because he has a back claw. So the new thug on the field, Freeze Thug 5, that is a very hard sentence to say. Activated without Audacity, but still within 8 of Mr. Freeze despite him moving up because of his big base. Activated and then moved over here without Audacity, but used that Inspired Manipulate to put down a suspect marker, and with the completion of his turn, a Freeze is coming scores as that marker counts down to 0. So that's both teams even. Batgirl was up next, and she had started on top of the hotel here. Totally forgot she had Informer, incidentally, so that means they do actually have a 3rd pass. They might hold on to that to try and secure first activation for next turn, but they do have another pass if the Bat Family / Gotham Knights want to use it. She had Audacity. She used her Batclaw to zoom down here next to Jason, put down a suspect marker out of line of sight of the Freeze Thug 5 there, but well within 8 in order to score the Soldiers of Fortune card, Black Ops, for a simple 2 points. Opted to do that with her because Jason is more deadly in close combat. So Nora Freeze activated for the Freeze crew, and she's got a lot going on, much like her husband, so let's cover this in steps. Started with a movement action, simple as she can move up to 10. She didn't really need the full distance, I think. to move right where you can see her. Then as her special action she used Ice Flash, works the same way as Killer Frost's and Mr. Freeze's. She targeted Batgirl, and because Batgirl was within 4 of a suspect marker, it became frozen. She failed her endurance roll. She only has 6 endurance, and as a result is frozen, and that put 1 marker on Kingdom of Ice. And because of the frozen suspect marker as a result of Ice Flash, the Ice Age card kicked in, and this again, law of text, but it freezes one of the opponent's objective cards rather, and can be freed when the frozen suspect marker is revealed. Previously didn't realize it's any frozen suspect marker, so if the freeze crew does it, it still applies. It doesn't say the enemy has to do it. It just says that the opponent gets to pick 1 card and put it back in play. Now that card was not randomly selected. Stay Cool was played as a resource in order to select the objective card. When playing an Ice Age card, you may look at your opponent's hand and choose which card is played. So that under the noses was selected. Not that the choice was actually very great, but still. Nora also has a rule where, based on the number of Ice Age cards in play, she gets stronger. And when there's 1 in play, it essentially gives her hand gauntlet gun thing Assault. So she can move and fire at full rate of fire with a -2 dice rolls. So she shot that at Batgirl, expecting to do a lot of... She could have killed her, honestly, with exposure. And very high chance to hit, given that she's frozen. But she only got the strength die through because she rolled a bunch of 1s. So they missed. Strength I got through for 1 blood, 1 stun. Exposure didn't kick in because it was a single hit, but her weapon does have cold on it, so that is another marker on Kingdom of Ice, putting that up to 2. Also, during her turn, because it's not over yet, she played an objective card, because she hadn't done that yet. Played Important Research, as weird as that is, because she's frozen on it, but played during a friendly model's activation. At the end of the next activation, if the opponent has at least 1 Ice Age card in play, remove the Ice Age card from the game and score for 3. So whoever activates next for the Gotham Knights, if they don't get rid of that Ice Age card by removing a frozen suspect marker, of which there is only 1, enemy 1 that is, over there, although I guess would removing a friendly 1 count for that? They recently clarified what remove and reveal count as, but I've forgotten. It's in the FAQ they released. I'm not sure. I guess we'll have to see if it matters. So went to check the FAQ, and revealed applies to your own or the enemies as far as suspect markers go. Remove is only your own, so in order to get the Ice Age card back they have to reveal an enemy 1, which means there isn't really anyone who can do that this turn. So Red Hood thought, why not just attack Nora and try and kill her, because she has desensitized, so trying to knock her out is fruitless. He charged her, went at her with a double blood katana, heavy and handy. Both efforted a full 3 times. She has cryo armor 1, so she was losing, or he was losing a die because she had that. Didn't do very well with the roll, to be honest. Her defense roll was decent. She's defense 4, unlike most of the other people who are defense 3. And as a result, only took 1 hit from the katana for 2 blood damage. Then Jason played for 1 resource point. They must know pain, so he's going to heal 2 of that stun damage, so he's only got the 1, which will heal at the end of the turn unless he takes any more damage. And then for an objective, he played Cyber Attack, the Soldiers of Fortune card. Selected that enemy suspect marker and the frozen 1 over there, so if either of those is still in play in 4 activations time, this will score for 2. So the new Freeze Engineer activated, and she couldn't really do what she wanted to do this turn. She improvised though, had audacity, moved up with the other 2 new models to the crew, and she has Cryo Grenade naturally, so she chucked it right there, froze her own suspect marker. It does the cold effect on Jason, but it doesn't do any damage, so it doesn't tick up Kingdoms of Ice. But during her turn, she did put into play Endless Winter, so this is the one when an enemy suspect marker becomes frozen, you put a marker on it. Once it's happened 3 times, it scores for 2, and you can only have 1 copy of the card in play at a time. So she's got an unused tactical action. She's a handyman as well, so she has an extra action, and she was within 8 of Mr. Freeze. She had a ton of unused actions, but nothing else she can do there right now. Oh, I did forget to mention, but after Jason's turn, Important Research scored because the Ice Age card stayed in play. That also means Nora retains that assault rule on her weaponry, but more importantly, that scores for 3. Last activation of the first turn for the Gotham Knights was Red Robin, Tim Drake. No audacity, not close enough to Nightwing to have her free Inspire, so just moved up 10 inches, trying to support Batgirl. I forgot to mention, but because she's frozen, she won't even get a turn next turn unless she passes an endurance roll, which is a little tough on 6 endurance. Not impossible, obviously, but a little tough. And just 1 activation to end off the turn for the Freeze crew. The final Thug 1, moved up and used the Inspire from his boss to put down a suspect marker just outside of 4 of that one. No audacity, so couldn't do anything else. So then about round 1, the Freeze crew has already suffered one casualty. There's been a few bloodied noses on both sides as well, and Batgirl was frozen and in danger of being shattered. As far as cards in play, we need to roll for the one suspect marker Alfred did put down, so if this is a 4 it scores. It was a 5, so no, it does not score. Stays in play though, and he can add to if he puts down more suspect markers. The cards in play for the Freeze crew, Kingdom of Ice, Endless Winter, stay in play, carry across. The cyber attack in play, it should be ticked down to 1 actually. It stays in play, it will score after the first activation of the next turn. Actually, I don't think... Yeah, they were counted down for Tim's turn, yeah. So it will be after the first activation of turn 2. There is a phase 4 card being played by the Freeze crew. Send them to the Gola. There's at least 6 models within 4 of frozen suspect markers. Not enemies, just any. And yeah, easily there's 4, 5. And then there's 3 over here. So yeah, that scores for 2. So at the top of turn 2, and despite having one unused pass, the Gotham Knights did not take first activation. It's going to be the Freeze crew. Both sides are playing a phase 1 or a phase 2 card. Let's start with the Gotham Knights. They are playing Die Hard, and it's being played on Alfred because it's basically cheating if you have an intel support character. So it's on Alfred if he lives till the end of the turn, and there isn't enough suspect markers to take him out. So yeah, that'll be scoring. Phase 2 for Freeze crew is Frozen Assets. It's a 1-turn loot. There's the text if you want to read it, but it's a 1-turn loot. And it is being placed in base to base with this, which means the large lad here with 8 health, 6 willpower, but he's got desensitized, so he's got 8 health. He's going to be holding that for the turn. Not super likely he'll get taken out, or if he does, that leaves someone open to being shot by Nora. But it is the Freeze crew going first. Whoever activates, it's going to result in cyber attack scoring right after, because you can't remove both of them in the 1 turn, I think. But we'll see what happens. So turn 2 got started with the Freeze Engineer, and this is where she got to do some of her shenanigans. So she started by doing a special action called Cryo Reinforcement, I believe it is. You pick a friendly frozen suspect within 4 and a friendly model with a Cryo Armor 1 rule, also within 4. Remove the friendly suspect marker, which she did. It was the one in front of the big guy there. And you pick a model, Nora. You improve her Cryo Armor to Cryo Armor 2, and also remove the short range limitation on her gun. And that is in play until she either does it again on someone else or she gets removed from the game. So that's the power of the engineer right there. Then she moved 8 all the way over here and revealed the frozen enemy suspect marker there. It only costs her 1 action because she has cryo armor, and for that scored chill out. Reveal an enemy frozen suspect marker. Scored it for 2. Puts her in danger a little bit, but still, she had a pretty effective turn. Oh, and again, just as a matter of note, to have it on camera, the other frozen suspect marker that had been marked by cyber attack stayed in play, so that has now ticked down and scored for 2 as well. So Red Hood was first up for the Gotham Knights, and he once again tried to take out Nora with his double blood handy heavy katana. Sharp and handy. And she efforted 3 times, so did he. Only the strength I got through, but it was a crit. Oh, actually, I don't think his katana has bleed on it or anything, does it? Only his one-shot gun does. We're going to have to check that, because he did get a crit, so he's knocked her down. No, nothing on the crit. So just 2 more blood damage to Nora there, and then he ran round the corner down here. There's the self-inflicted 3 stun from his efforts. He lost 2 dice to her cryo armor 2, so there wasn't much chance of him doing a lot of damage. And just to get out of hand, really not the ideal person for it, the other I Were Best Alone has been put on Jason for putting down suspect markers. So Nora activated. She suffered impaired movement to stand up after being knocked down by that crit. She also moved forwards ever so slightly. Then she shot her weapon, still with assault, thanks to 1 card being frozen, into the frozen Batgirl. Got her twice this time. Oh, actually, that would mean there's 3 blood, sorry, because of exposure, which puts her at... Ooh, how much did she have on her already? She is still alive with a 1, I believe, because that'll be 3... Oh no, she's got 2 health left. But yeah, the exposure actually added an extra 1 onto there. And then she tried to Ice Flash Red Robin, and he passed his roll, so he's -1 defense and -2 movement. Didn't do anything else, didn't play any cards. It did put 1 more marker on Kingdom of Ice though. So Red Robin activated it and used his Batclaw to hop up over the wall of the building here, landing inside the rubble where he put down a suspect marker right there, within 4 of the suspect marker there, scoring the League of Assassins card under their noses for a quick 2. Mr. Freeze was up next, and he didn't want his wife to have all the fun, so he moved position to where you can see him there. He used Ice Flash on the suspect, well, he used it on Tim, but the suspect marker he just put down was frozen as a result. Tim avoided being frozen himself, barely, but that does also put 1 marker on Endless Winter for freezing an enemy suspect marker, and another Ice Age card comes out to play as a result. Another Stay Cool was played as a resource in order to select the card that gets frozen rather than randomizing it. And Valuable Commodities was picked, which is very, very annoying. So Valuable Commodities is now frozen. That also means that the A Lot Colder rule for Nora means that she gets stronger. I think it's +2 attack. Let's see, tier 2 of it is, +2 attack. So that puts her at attack 5, which is pretty scary. That same rule, incidentally, means that you can't bring Victor's objective cards because they're searching for Nora, and Nora's here. So that rule means you can't take his unique cards. But, she's pretty powerful. Anyway, then he shot the second load of his ammunition, he has 3 in total, at Red Robin, losing 1 for cover, losing 2 for moving. 1 got through, all said and done. Single point of blood. Put it up there because it's a lot easier than trying to put it down inside that building. Didn't do anything else, and made some progress towards scoring cards. Well, a Batgirl activation was attempted and she passed her endurance roll, so she broke her way out of the ice, taking a hit to movement but didn't need much. Just moved to the far side of the engineer there. Efforted twice. She would have efforted 3 times, but she can't because of the blood damage on her. The engineer didn't effort at all because this Batgirl has reinforced gloves now. I'm pretty sure prior to getting her buffs in 3rd edition she didn't have reinforced gloves. She had combo and she still does, but she didn't have reinforced gloves. So now with combo plus reinforced gloves, she is very, very dangerous in close combat. And lost 1 to Cryo Armor, put 2 in extra with the effort she did. And all said and done, got 3 hits through for 6 stun, knocking out the engineer, who is a 5 model willpower, I believe. And then, using a special action, arresting her. Which means that Nora has just lost her cryo upgrades. So she's back down to Cryo Armor 1. No cards scored on it though, didn't have a get them off the streets ready. Turned him around to face camera, but the new Freeze Thug stayed where he was, put down a suspect marker that is just outside of 4 of this one, but within 4 is the crow flies of the one Tim put down in there that's been frozen. So we can finally see Stay Cool come out of hand and it actually score instead of just being the resource points, because they keep coming back into hand and cluttering it up. But that is 1 scored now. Without Audacity there isn't much else Alfred can do, so he activated, put down a suspect marker and did nothing else. That does put another marker on his I Work Best Alone though, it's going to be a 3 this time. Well, unfortunately for Alfred, this Freeze Thug right here, who would have had a free Inspired Manipulate but can't do anything with it, she just did her special action, the Cryo Grenade purchased for her from funding, and it could place the explosive marker wholly within 8, so it caught this suspect marker, so it's been frozen. That's the 2nd point on Endless Winter, but nothing else done there, no new cards played. Last activation for the Gotham Knights, Nightwing activated, dashed around the corner here into base to base with the Thug and the suspect marker, spent his tactical and special actions to remove it because it was frozen, and in doing so a couple of things happened. One of the Ice Age cards gets removed. He picked the loot one, what do we call it? Why am I blanking on the name all of a sudden? It's Valuable Commodities, there we go, that's the one. Valuable Commodities, which gets put on top of the objective deck, and for removing a suspect marker he scored a Comb Through Everything. So although he wasn't hitting anyone, he managed to free up a valuable card with still 1 turn left to potentially play it, and managed to score some points too. So now it's over to, who's left? Just that Freeze Thug right there. So he stayed where he was and fired his Cryo Cannon at Nightwing, who dodged with 3 effort, leaving behind 1 shot which did get through sadly, hitting him for an additional stun and 2 blood. So he's quite high up there with stun now, that's up to 6 of his 7. Hope it was worth it. So at the end of Battle Round 2, Nightwing isn't at 6, he's at 5, sorry. So he's now down to 4 if he heals 1, or when he heals 1 rather. Got the counting wrong slightly. But we're at the end of the turn, there's no additional cards being played. Also forgot to mention, the attack on Nightwing had cold on it, so Kingdom of Ice is 1 away from scoring now, stays in play. As does Endless Winter, which is 1 away from scoring. Now we need to see if Valuable Commodities for Alfred scores in a 3 or a 4. Nope, stays in play, still got a chance. And also the Frozen Assets card, which I forgot to grab. That scores, because the big guy was unmolested for the turn, so that scores for 2. Die Hard scores because Alfred was fine, so that has scored for the Bat Family / Gotham Knights. So they broke even. With that, on to the penultimate turn. So the top of round 3, the penultimate round, the Freeze crew has taken first activation again with a roll of 6-1. So that could be pretty crucial. I've been forgetting to kind of show who has Audacity, although obviously you can see with your own eyes, but just to cover it real quick. Obviously most of the Gotham Knights do, the only person who doesn't is Alfred. For the Freeze crew, Nora, Victor, the big guy, and the lady with the gun hands all have it, so the only one that doesn't is him there. and the rest of their thugs have been taken out, so that's not relevant. No additional cards being played, so it's just the ones in play, and with that, on we go. So first activation for Mr. Freeze was good old Lady Gunarms, and she almost had the perfect turn. She started with an 8 of Victor for a free manipulate, which she used after moving up here and putting down a suspect marker with that free manipulate, scoring another Stay Cool, which I've already seen once as a score and like twice as a resource. So that scored for 2. Then she used her Gunarms on Nightwing. He trusted in his defense for her, and don't know if that was a mistake or not, honestly, because she lost 2 dice for moving, but the roll was pretty good. She got 2 hits through for 2 blood, 2 stun, and then exposure pops in that extra blood as well. So he's hanging on by a thread. And our weapon had cold, so that is the 5th and final tick required for Kingdom of Ice to score, and it does score right now as well. You can only play 1 card, but you can score multiple. So that is a total of 4 she gained on her turn there. It would have been like only more perfect if she'd also taken out Nightwing. Well, Nightwing had little choice but to activate, otherwise risk dying before getting a turn. He scarpered, ran round the containers here and put down his suspect marker. Seemed like the best option to get a point, and scored another under their noses for doing so. He was originally going to grab the loot, but he's too close to death to try that now. Nora activated, moved up, not particularly caring that she's close to death, put down a suspect marker right down in front of her, at which point she put into play a Freeze is Coming. A 1 got rolled on the D3, so it's 2 in total, although it only takes down on friendly activations, could be worth 3. And then she did Ice Flash on Barbara. She passed her roll, so thankfully she wasn't frozen, but suspect markers within 2 of her become frozen, so that's why that one is now also rock solid. It was a quick activation for Tim. He had to do what Dick couldn't. He activated, spent his tactical and special action to remove his own suspect marker to turn it into valuable commodities. That also removed the other Ice Age card in play, so Nora's back down to normal power. He then ran a little bit to where you can see him right there. For reasons for hopefully scoring cards later, the Cryo Cannon wielding Freeze Thug activated, no Audacity, free inspired manipulate but nothing to do with it, just moved up his 8, put him next to the Batmobile there. Barbara Gordon activated, made use of her Batclaw to flip over the length of the building, landed right there and removed the unfrozen suspect marker that was in front of Mr. Freeze, probably resulting in Mr. Freeze killing her, but in doing so managed to score confusion, so just trying to get some points on the board before numbers started dwindling for the smaller crew. So we're actually going to undo that turn because there is no logical reason you wouldn't go after the frozen one over here, because she could just walk up to it because she was right there, and then spend tactical and special to remove this, doing the exact same thing in terms of her scoring a card. Actually no, sorry, it wouldn't score confusion because it's not within 8, but it will score under their noses, so it's worth the exact same number of points, and this way denies the Freeze crew 3 points for a Freeze is Coming. Much smarter play, so that's the one we're running with. Caught it early enough to undo it. The big tough guy Freeze Thug 5 activated with Audacity this time. He moved over here, put down a suspect marker. He had to come over this way because of where all the other ones are placed, which is a bit awkward, but this way he might make Red Hood waste his turn. He has a unique special action. I think it's called Snowstorm. I'm going to have to come over back here and check. Let's make sure and do this right. It is called Snowstorm. You center the explosive template on him. It hits enemies on a 3+ for double stun. But more importantly, for what he wanted to do, any suspect markers also become frozen. So it's kind of like a short-range cryo grenade. And in freezing his own suspect marker, he's also putting into play another Freeze is Coming. Just realised we didn't roll for the D3. That's a 1, so it becomes a 2. So that one, although the only chance the Bat family have to actually get rid of it is with Red Hood, and then it's over to Mr. Freeze to end the turn. Yeah, the denial of the 3 points there was Red Hood's best bet, so he used his prodigious movement to move into base to base with it, used a tactical and a special action to remove the frozen marker, and cancelled out that Freeze is Coming as well. So a bit of a lackluster activation from Mr. Freeze to end off the penultimate turn. He moved up, he threw a cryo grenade on his own suspect marker just to freeze it to offer a bit more protection, and that's it. As far as I can tell, you can't Ice Flash Intel support characters, so there was no point doing that. Alfred hasn't had a turn, but he's got no Audacity. Totally forgot about that, but he doesn't really need to do anything beyond moving up. So he's going to move 8 in this direction, roughly here for the final turn, but we're just going to go straight to cleanup now. So at the end of Battle Round 3, the Freeze crew was trying to fandango having a certain number of people within frozen suspects, didn't manage to do it. Endless Winter stays in play because they still need to freeze one more enemy suspect marker, friendlies don't count. No additional cards being played by either side. We just need to check to see whether or not I Work Best Alone for Alfred scores. 2 ones in a row. So nope, it does not score. One last chance for that to score in the final round, and Tim is still holding on to the loot. Dawn of the final day, top of the final turn, turn 4, and everyone on the board has Audacity except Alfred and the Cryo Cannon holding Freeze Thug. No additional cards being played by either side. Endless Winter still in play for Freeze. 2 I Work Best Alone and valuable commodities in play for the Bat Family / Gotham Knights. And it is the Gotham Knights who have seized first activation in the final turn. So, there are a few of them are hurt, and Nightwing and Batgirl are really close to going down. Let's see what happens. Nightwing got the final turn started. He came swinging round the corner into base to base with that Freeze Thug with the gun hands there. He efforted once because that's all he had room able to do without knocking himself out. She gets 1 free effort from being next to a frozen suspect, and he loses 1 die from being her cryo armor. But he has combo, double stun, and he managed to get 3 hits through for 6 stun, meaning that she is unconscious. She's got 5 willpower, I believe it is. Yeah, she's a 5/6, knocking her out. And as a result, he is using his special action to arrest her to score 3 out of focus points. Any second now. It's very reflective. Now we're close enough. 3 for that. So she is gone. Will not be getting a turn. That's an Audacity wasted. And then as a resource, sorry, not as a resource. Well, yes, as a resource, he played They Must Know Pain to heal 2 of his blood damage. So at worst, he's going to get knocked out is the theory. That way he stays alive. So regardless of what happens on the other side of the table, the Freeze crew is staying over this side for now because this is the side that can score points. The Cryo Cannon Thug moved up and then used that Inspired Manipulate from Mr. Freeze to put down a suspect marker. Close enough to that frozen one right there. That I think this is the final stay cool. Now we've seen so many of them because of the resource plays, I've lost count. I think this is the final stay cool though, and that has scored. Red Hood activated and decided to finally finish what he started. He's nothing if not consistent. He's done the same damage to Nora 3 turns in a row, but he finally hit her cap and did 2 more blood. He moved to where he did, so he was getting Teamwork 1 with Barbara. That's a lesser used rule for the Bat Family teams. They get Teamwork 1 all, but there's so few of them, they're so often not next to each other. But that essentially negated her cryo armor. He got 1 hit through. It was the strength die again. Her defense rolls have been really good, but the damage has finally added up. She's only a 6 endurance model. She's out of there. She couldn't have been arrested anyway because she has run away. And in inflicting KO / murder, I'm feeling weird has scored for 2. Unaware of what befell his wife, Victor activated, moved up and revealed the enemy frozen suspect marker there to score another chill out. He then, just out of spite, used Ice Flash as a special action on Dick and actually managed to freeze him. So he's frozen, not dead, but frozen. Tim activated and moved in with his back claw flipped over the wall to get into base. I don't even think he needed to use it, but either way, to get into base with the large lad. He's got desensitized, so trying to knock him out is fruitless, but that wasn't the reason he did it. He efforted 3 times because his bow staff's only single stun, which is honestly rubbish. I get that he's meant to be a support piece with hacking and whatnot, but the bow staff only being 1 stun is garbage, and for his point value, he's not a good take compared to comparable. But anyway, he attacked 3 effort, managed to get 5 hits through for 5 stun, and scored for 1 point. They won't see me coming. So it would be this large guy to go, but there's nothing he can do that would score any cards. So looking at what the Bat Family can do with Alfred and Batgirl left, literally the only thing they could do is either Batgirl comes around here to this suspect marker, or Alfred using a free Inspire from Nightwing because he's frozen not dead, comes down to this one, removes one of these suspect markers, scores a comb through everything, doesn't do anything else. So we're just going to count that as scored and then handle the cards in play. Endless Winter does not score because there's no suspect markers left for them to freeze, so that's gone. We do score the valuable commodities for Tim holding on to the loot. Come around this side of the table, apologies. So the valuable commodities does score. Jason didn't put down any suspect markers, so his I Work Best Alone is just thrown away. Does Alfred score on a 3 or 4? You better believe it doesn't. So that's both of these utterly wasted. And there we are. Both of them gone. Let's go see who's won. So let's see what the final score is. The Bat Family / Gotham Knight deck is definitely larger, but Mr. Freeze scored a lot worth 3. So let's see, we'll start with the Bat Family. So that is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 28, very, very good score. It's a good deck even without snitches. So 28 plays 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. If he'd scored the other 2 freezes as coming, that would have been, what, still 2 away or 1 away, I've lost count. Either way, not quite enough. So stopping those didn't need to be done to secure the win. But very healthy. The Mr. Freeze crew and his deck is very, very tough to go up against. It's very powerful. Speaking of powerful, Nora was decent. She withstood Red Hood for 3 turns. It wasn't in a row, I misspoke. It was turn 1, 3, and 4 he attacked her. But either way, she is very sturdy, even without the engineer buffing her. The big guy just kind of wandered around. Didn't get to use his grapple gun, that was a bit of a waste. Didn't really get to use his trait more than once for freezing suspect markers. It's just the way it works out. They had control of the Frozen game. Against so few models in a Bat Family crew, there isn't that many suspect markers to play with, which is always the detriment for the Freeze crew. They need enemy suspect markers to toy around with, otherwise they can't score half their cards. So they were working with what they got and did very well. Barbara and Dick were definitely about to go down, so if the game was longer, the Freeze crew would take dominance on the board, but again, they wouldn't have any suspect markers to score on, so I don't know. Either way, good game. Both sides played well. Decent, very decent scores for both. And the new models did well for once. Usually new model syndrome means they get wiped out before they do anything. I sincerely hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you very much for doing so. Please do consider showing your support by liking the video, or if you want to go above and beyond, pressing the thanks button, becoming a channel member, or checking out the Patreon. And like I mentioned at the top of the video as well, if you want to see Gotham Knights being played through cooperatively with Nightwing and Batgirl, you can check out my Twitch streams or the video game YouTube channel I have, but do keep in mind that those are not family friendly. There's bad words and everything. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. See you in the future. Ta-da for now.